Welcome to the Power of Design podcast. My name is Jack Ossa. I'm an architect, born and raised in Colombia, South America. Years ago, I migrated to the United States to follow my dreams. And today, I'm the founder and principal of Ossa Studio, a multidisciplinary architectural design firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this podcast, we talk about design, business, creativity, and the inspiration we need to create an exciting and powerful built environment.
In this episode of the Power of Design podcast, structural engineer and Charlotte business leader Robert Phillips of Bennett Pless dives into adaptive reuse challenges, the art of responsive client service, and the mindset shift that turns technical expertise into entrepreneurial success. Discover how deliberate relationship building and a strengths-focused team culture can elevate every design project. Insights you can put to work today. Ready to level up your structural design leadership?
Rob, welcome to the Power of Design podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Jack. Thanks for having me. I appreciate that.
Man, I'm excited to have you here. You know, I know we've known each other for, 5 years.
Yeah.
At least. And I enjoy, getting to know you and working together. So I'm so happy that we get the chance to talk more about what we do and about who you are.
Yeah.
I always talk about you. You know, you don't know that, but I always put you as an example of a great engineer because you really understand relationships.
Yes, appreciate that.
And it's not only about, the transaction, the project that we do all the time, but you always have that extra layer of understanding that it's all about relationships. You're out there, you're helping people. So, I want to tell you that you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud to work with you and, continue working together.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Jack. I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me, and likewise, it's been great to try to connect the dots when I can and help when I can, and be on the receiving end of that. So,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Cheers.
Cheers.
So, Rob, tell me about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Jesup, Georgia. That's a coastal town on the coast of Georgia, South Georgia, near Savannah and Brunswick. Most people would know that more. Small town, paper mill town. My dad's a family doctor there, moved there after medical college and doing his residency in Macon, Georgia. And funny story there, in Macon, Georgia Hospital, he actually worked on the Allman Brothers after one of their motorcycle accidents. So he likes to tell that story. Yeah. So that was a good little intro to being a doctor for him.
Yeah. So that's where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in Jesup, Georgia. It was a really good childhood. Dad's a big, he's a family doctor, but he's a big spear fisherman, scuba diver off the Georgia coast. So it's
cool.
Interesting childhood. I like, small town is a good upbringing, those small town values. It was really rewarding to be there. And then after that, going to college and then deciding, to be a structural engineer, usually you're in a larger city. So,
How did you make that decision?
Yeah. So, I took an aptitude test in high school, like what do you want to be when you grow up? And it said small business.
Oh, wow.
So I went to a 2-year college, Truett McConnell, and I got a 2-year degree, associate degree in business. And then I was about to head down to the Florida Keys to do resort management and open up a resort, a little boutique dive resort in the Bahamas for my dad. But it was always good at math and science. So I took a detour to Southern Polytechnic in Marietta and tried out civil engineering and was a fish in water. I did okay in college, but going to an engineering school, everything made a lot more sense to me.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I got there. I was on the steel bridge team, which is a competition team that puts together a mock steel bridge and met a lot of people that way, and how I got an internship in Atlanta.
Wow. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nice. So after college, well, how was your experience? Your first job? How did you go about, connecting with people?
Mhm. Yeah, not your typical very technical engineer, although people do say that about me, but more relationship and business driven,
Right.
especially with that 2 year degree in business. So struggled a little bit, but my boss, a mentor of mine, Robert Edmondson, really paired me with a really high technical person, and it helped bolster me. And then also on the QA/QC side, just make
Yeah.
sure I wasn't missing the little details in projects, and really helped me develop that skill set of just trying to make sure things that are going out the door obviously can be built, but with minimal
Yeah.
issues in the field. So that
Yeah.
helped a lot.
Yeah. What kind of projects were you working on at that time?
Yeah. So right when I started, I was doing a lot of K through 12, a lot of retail, office buildings, probably for 3-4 years. And then I got into some military work. So
Mm.
doing some design for the Department of Defense. I had to learn blast and progressive collapse mitigation, which was really interesting. And just having to dive in that. And we didn't have an expert in the firm. So taking classes on that, making mistakes and
Yeah.
figuring that out, and trying to get better was really cool. Um, after that, I've pretty much touched everything: multifamily, industrial. I've managed post-tension projects for senior living, some towers, that kind of thing. So, well-rounded,
Yeah.
structural engineering projects. It's been really a good thing. So, some structural engineers get kind of pigeonholed into one type of
Right.
structure, and
Yeah.
that's hard to get out of later in your career. So
Yeah.
I was lucky to have a really broad experience early on.
That's cool. I also had a similar experience early on, probably the first 5 years.
Yeah.
I touched residential, high rises, churches, restaurants, adaptive reuse,
Yeah.
so wood framing, and it was interesting. I at that time I didn't know that was a very good experience because it was very diverse. It was
Right.
later on in my career, like, okay, I know what that is. Like,
Right.
you get an understanding at least of the nuances of each building type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Early on in the career, I did not enjoy adaptive reuse. I mean, it was very difficult, right? It's
Oh, yeah.
not easy ground up. There's a lot of nuances and intricacies that go into that. But the last several years, we've done tons of adaptive reuse
Yeah.
in our office, and I really enjoy it now. It's just really old structures, or trying to get creative with even newer structures with change in use. Change in
Yes.
occupancy
Yeah.
can trigger a lot of things, and just putting yourself in the shoes of the owner, and how to spend the money, and making sure you're doing right by the owner while still protecting the public.
Sure.
Which is what we have to do.
Yeah.
So it's a challenge, but I really enjoy it. It's
Yeah.
really cool
Yeah,
project type.
I know what you're talking about because we're in the same boat. And
Yeah.
sometimes people think that, oh, I bought this old building and we're going to renovate it, so it's going to be cheaper
Oh,
than
yeah.
building a new one. And sometimes at the end of the project, everybody's like, it could have been better and cheaper,
Yeah.
faster doing a new building
Right.
because it just gets too complicated sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, from your perspective and the owner's perspective, that's a huge challenge. I think there has to be some architectural features that are worth saving that,
Yeah.
really bring value to that building and the occupants in it to make it worth it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So tell me the story about, from that first job you got and then your transition to where you are today.
Yeah, so was a project manager from about year 5 to year 13. Felt like I kind of hit a glass ceiling, and I wanted to try something new. So I moved to Charlotte. Didn't know anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but now it's just a one-man show. The group that I was working with, they had one client here that I was to service, but everything else was go out and find what you can find. And so
Right.
I joined SMPS and Crew early on,
Yeah.
and met a lot of business development, marketing professionals in our industry.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I'm new to the city. Can you help me meet the people I need to meet? And then from there, they just started introducing me to more and more people, and just getting out on the streets, finding work. And early on, I met several architects, and I asked them, I was like, hey, what are my peers doing? And majority said that the structural engineers in Charlotte were good. They just weren't necessarily as responsive as they wanted to be. So that was like check mark one,
That's
always
right.
be responsive,
Yeah.
And I know that can be a challenge on your end, being prime most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these consultants. Ultimately, you need to be responsive to the owner, but then you have all these people that you rely on
That's right.
to make it happen,
Yeah.
to meet a deadline, meet expectations. And if I'm sitting in your shoes, I want people I can trust and that are responsive to my needs and never miss deadlines. And,
Absolutely.
And so I saw how important that was and kind of made that, the forefront of what I was trying to sell early on. And that served me really well.
Yeah, for sure it did. And, for me, and I think for you too, that's kind of a given. That's the basics of how to be a professional, but it's not the norm for everybody.
Yeah.
That's where sometimes I'm like, there's some engineers that are like, dude, I'm your client.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot treat me like that.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. And that's one of the things that I always admire about you is that you're out there in the marketplace, you're meeting with people, you're creating connections, just adding value to the marketplace versus other engineers that they just sit there and wait for the for the architects to bring in the projects.
Right.
And I'm like, that's fine, but then let's share the marketing budget.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm going out here working, like getting
Exactly.
clients for you, and you're just sitting there.
Yeah.
And I think that, you understand very well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had really good mentors on the business development side early on too, and it was all about not having your hat out all the time, like
Right.
trying to go meet the people you need to meet, right?
Yeah.
And bringing them to you,
Yeah.
and bringing projects to you, and then you become, well, if this guy's gonna send me work, then I'm gonna send him work, and then be more of a reciprocal relationship instead of just a hat out waiting for work kind of mentality.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was having lunch yesterday with someone and we were talking about, business development. And I was telling them that my strategy is always during the early stages of the relationship, because people do business with they know, like, and trust.
Right.
And that takes time, right? So I try to, at the beginning, try to add as much value as I can to that
Right.
person. In any way, a connection, maybe they mention something about their personally or their family that I can connect, or anything. Just add value, because by default, by humans, we have gratitude in our heart by default. So when you go to lunch and someone pays for it, you're like, hey, I got you next time. Like, it's just regular and normal response to return
Right.
the favor or whatever. So I always like to start by, hey, let's add value, and somehow that value comes back one way or the other.
Yeah, that's a great point. It doesn't always have to be work, but there's a lot of ways to add value to somebody and their predicaments.
Cool. So you move to Charlotte, you meet with
Yeah.
these architects, you're by yourself, and then what happened?
Yeah, so I added a couple of engineers to that office. They sold to another firm, and I have entrepreneurial spirit just like yourself. I wanted to be an owner in a company, and so I researched what it was going to take to open up my own business, and looked at pairing with a couple of others.
Yep.
At starting a business, and but at the same time, Ed Gazzola, the CEO and primary shareholder of Bennett Pless, had kept talking to me about starting something from scratch for him here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I was interested in that, but I felt like I was already doing that,
Right.
So it would have been almost a step backwards because I already had a couple of employees. But then he acquired King Gwynn, who has been around since the 60s.
Yeah.
Great reputation, done a lot of the tall structures around town.
Yeah.
Really good relationships, and after that acquisition, I was very interested. And so I was under Larry for a year, Larry McGinnis.
Yep.
And then took over as department manager a year after that, and the team now is so strong. It's really ridiculous. Like I really am trying to get out there and sell that.
Yeah.
Because we are ready to go, and it's just a great group of people that I'm very fond of. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. Congratulations.
it's come a long way. Appreciate it.
Man, you have done the work. Be patient and building, real relationships.
Yeah.
So it's working.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So tell me about, that team. What kind of projects do you work on? How do you guys engage with your clients?
Yeah. So, our primary market sectors, data centers, pharma, industrial, manufacturing. Those are the big projects that keep the lights on, have good profitability, to allow us to grow, allow us to invest in new employees in new areas. In different parts of the United States. And then we have our what we call local work, which is the adaptive reuse, the commercial buildings. And that's really where that local relationships are key.
Yeah.
And then we have some, more company-wide business development professionals going after those mega projects and bigger projects.
Nice.
So it's kind of a dual effort, right? I'm responsible for the local work and the whatever's the hot market locally, whatever we can get our hands on. And then having a piece of the pie on those larger regional type projects is a really good duo way of doing it. When I first started, it was, King Gwynedd was doing really big structures, and then there was times where there wasn't as much to work on. So Ed wanted me out there in the local market, developing the relationships, trying to get some of those smaller projects so you have more of a smooth aggregate, level type of working environment, so you're not so peak and valley. So that was a good challenge, and that's where those relationships have really helped keep us more steady work instead of such peak and valley.
How will you explain to maybe a 10-year-old or someone who's not in our industry that might be listening, what does a structural engineer do?
So I like to say, we design the skeleton of the body. The architect, is what you see on the outside, and what holds it up. The skeleton inside that holds it all up. That's what we do. So, structural engineers usually bridges, dams, and then buildings.
Yes,
and we're holding the building up from the forces. So wind and seismic, gravity loads, snow, all those things that want to take a building down. We're trying to hold it up and keep it up to code and make sure that it's going to protect life and not fall down during events.
Right.
So we're not trying to make bomb shelters, right?
Right.
We're trying to be economical, which is good for the owner, but also for the environment, right? So just trying to really minimize the structure, but at the same time protect the public. So it's this little balancing act of making sure it's safe, but not a bomb shelter.
Right. Yeah. I always think about that for structural engineers is that balance, because if you're not sure, you can always over-design it.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is the default setting.
Yeah.
Things that are over-designed, because to design it right, it needs, probably more calculation,
That's
more
right.
verification, and, a little bit of, risk-taking on people's part to say, all right, let me try to see if this works.
Yeah. I mean, you heard the saying, when in doubt, make it stout. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not good. Put yourself in the owner's shoes, just the general public, it's not good for the environment. It's not good for the budget. Make sure that you're doing the right thing. So, I'm not saying you design every single little piece that you possibly could. Some of it's repetition, what works, but, at the same time, it's anybody can design a building. It's a skilled structural engineer with budget in mind is what you want to design an economical building.
Yeah. And structural engineering, it's something that in a project team setting, nobody's going to challenge.
Right.
Like, they believe you. Like,
sure.
Nobody's going to say your footings are too big. I don't know.
Right.
And that's one of the things that, I guess it's just the professional responsibility to, be efficient and effective.
Absolutely.
On your designs. We're just getting started with a project, which it was like a similar dynamic where the client was working. They have a very large facility, and they were working with another architect. And they got to the point where they got a construction budget, and they had to add a sprinkler system that cost $600,000. And they presented the project to us, and we did the building code analysis. We're like, you don't need a sprinkler system.
Right.
So when I saw all the other reports and study, they kind of make sense, but they default on the safe side.
Right.
Which makes sense. Is it responsible to have a sprinkler system? Probably. But do you have to? Is building code requiring? No.
Right.
So, with just a code study, you're in an owner's mind, you're saving the $600,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's critical, especially in the adaptive reuse. When you're changing occupancy, you're getting into the existing building code. A lot of gray area, and it's, what was this building used before? What's it being used for now? What are we comfortable with?
Yes.
And the building department's looking to us to make that call.
Yeah.
They want us to take responsibility. They don't want to, they don't want to be the ones to make that call. They want us to be, professionals about it, and they want us to protect the public in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to keep these old buildings, then you need to be smart about it. You can't just throw tons and tons and tons of steel or concrete or extra wood or masonry at it. You really need to figure out what's really needed. And there's a lot of gray area in the existing building code, and diving in that and making sure that, you're comfortable that you're protecting the public, but you're not overkilling it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell me about Bennett Pless in general, the company?
Yeah.
What, services, how many people, how is it run?
Yeah. So we've got 190 people-ish around that level, nine offices. Started in Atlanta and Chattanooga were our offices. And Ed Gazzola purchased the firm, I want to say 2013, 2014, something like that. He actually came in and worked a few years, built the business, and then bought it out. Was a good thing he did for the owner. It wasn't like a McDonald's situation where he had somebody come in and try to take over and cut these guys out. He really did well by the previous owner. And from there, Ed Gazzola was just an extremely good businessman, really good mentor for me. But, we started acquiring firms like a King Gwynn, right? Mm-hmm. Great reputation.
Yeah.
Been around for years. People know them. They trust them. Just didn't necessarily have the ownership transition plan in place, right? And they needed a place like Bennett Pless to call home. And, instead of selling out to a big conglomerate or whatever, these people wanted to leave legacy and wanted to give their employees, something to believe in and something that they could really trust. So that's kind of been the business model. That was the same thing for LHC in Raleigh and Carpenter Wright in Nashville and Knoxville, Heath and Associates down in Sarasota, and Linton Associates now in Loudon.
Nice.
We're doing a couple of grassroots. We're in Greenville now and Dallas, Texas.
Wow.
Starting those from scratch.
Yeah.
Similar to how I started here in Charlotte. And it's tough, man. It takes years.
Oh, yeah.
You start from scratch. Yeah. It's tough.
Yeah.
That takes years, You don't just flip a light switch on and make that happen. That takes a lot of, like you said, relationship investments and moving pieces around to start making that work. So we look for, smaller firms that, want to be a part of the team and want to be part of our culture.
Yeah.
And grow that way. And we're also trying to start from scratch approach and see if we can make that happen too.
Yeah. What other services you guys provide?
Yeah, so we're structural engineers, structural engineer only. So we're the largest structural engineering only firm in the Southeast. And, that's all aspects of buildings, a little bit of specialty foundations and towers for cell towers, that kind of thing. We don't necessarily touch bridges, although we do touch pedestrian bridges, connecting bridges, those kind of things for pedestrians. But our sister company, BPL, does building enclosure science, and they've really come along. We've hired some of the top in the industry around the United States, and that's growing really rapidly.
So is that like designing building envelopes?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So they're doing peer review of your drawings and my drawings, making sure it's watertight, airtightness. You can't be completely airtight. You want some exchange, but just making sure it's has a good skin to it, so that the building doesn't corrode or whatever.
So do you guys do like curtain wall design?
I am not exactly sure about that. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, I'd love to learn more about that.
Absolutely.
Because I know we have run a lot, especially in sometimes renovations of existing buildings where things get a little bit complicated, and then we need to look at, how are you attaching to the existing structure.
Right.
I've worked with curtain wall designers a couple of times, just specific consultant that's all they do. Yeah, I wish I could speak more intelligently on that. It's just out of my area of expertise, but I can definitely hook you up with those guys. And I think it's as simple or grandiose as you want it to be, as a consulting on small issues or just peer review of your drawings. And they can also do the commissioning after the fact and water testing. We have guys that rappel buildings. We have drone experts.
So yeah, those guys are really on it. Yeah, but I'll
Which
follow
office are they?
Yeah, so the primary is in Atlanta, but we have them spread out throughout the United States. The closest one here is in Raleigh.
Okay.
We would like to have a BPL representative in Charlotte. That's on the books. We just haven't found the right person yet, but we're looking. So if you're interested, give me a buzz.
Yeah. No, I'd love to learn more about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Tell me about some of the most exciting projects you have worked in your career in general that you remember.
Yeah, I mean, a really cool project was the Department of Defense. It was one of the marquee projects at Fort Benning, where all the generals used to be whenever they were on that base, and we had to do a blast analysis on that building and kind of bring it up to code from a terrorist.
How do you do that? How do you do a blast analysis?
Yeah. So, we look at, what anticipated TNT quantity might be, so a blast weight.
Yes.
And then that produces a blast wave.
Yes.
And then that hits the building, and we try to protect the building from that wave.
So that is like a calculation?
It's very complex calculation.
Oh, yeah.
We dumb it down to like an easier to understand dynamic analysis. But yeah, it is complicated. Like I said, I took a 3-day class on that in Nashville, Tennessee, and it's very complicated. And it's like, for me to run one calculation is like 3 pages of calc. It's
because
not simple.
what you guys doing, it's incredible because you're just trying to just understand the laws of nature.
Yeah.
And give it a language.
That's right.
And work with it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and we're not trying to make it where after the blast, the building doesn't need repair. We're just trying to more protect the occupants.
Yeah, protect the people, yeah.
So a lot of damage on that comes from fragmentation, so the glass shards.
Right.
I think the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, that all those glass shards flew in.
Yeah.
You had a lot of damage, loss of life, and definitely some shrapnel wounds from that, but then also it had a progressive collapse. So you lose one column and then it starts a domino effect where you start losing more and more structure. That's called progressive collapse. So progressive collapse mitigation is a part of it. It's all really interesting. I could talk about that all day. It was a really cool project. I've done some really neat projects locally around town, just mainly on the adaptive reuse side.
Nice.
I really love those projects. The Revelry. Some really cool, neat projects that we've worked on. Saving those old buildings, right? Not just tearing them down, but being able to revitalize them, and they look super cool.
I know.
Get done with them. Yeah,
it looks cool when you can see. Older classical traditional construction mixed with a more modern contemporary touch. That mix, everybody loves it. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
Yeah, I remember our first little renovation project we did together.
Which one?
I think it was Alfred Williams. You were in their office, and we renovated that, and that was not easy. That had some really old timber columns and beams.
Yes.
And, kind of put me out of my comfort zone a little bit, but that's what you're going to be when you get into adaptive reuse. Is you're going to be a little uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah, because that building was probably built without drawings.
Yeah.
And, so inconsistent, you cannot see the foundation.
Yeah. The leader of team experience for Bennett Pless, she was telling me the other day, she said the number one leadership skill coming up is, being comfortable with being uncomfortable, and I think that
very true.
We're entering AI, we're entering in, this whole new generation, a new way of doing things. And I think you kind of have to embrace it.
100%.
And just be ready to jump on new technologies or new ways of doing things, new materials, new building materials, heavy timbers coming, those kind of things, just not being scared of different ways and different technologies that are present. And you're a great example of that. I mean, you had a 3D printer back then. You remember playing around with it? Yeah.
Now it's awesome. A museum.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That was like cutting edge at the time, and now it's in a museum. So we're used to that, but I've seen people like, you're scared of Revit, you're scared of AutoCAD, now you're scared of Revit, now you're scared of AI.
That's right. Yeah,
that mentality just is not. It doesn't 100%. Help. It's not going anywhere. Right? So you might as well embrace it,
and it's gonna change. And it's there. Like, if you don't like it, well, it is what it is.
Right.
It's there.
Yeah.
You can use it and leverage it,
right,
or complain about it.
Right.
That's interesting.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by Ossa Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.ossastudio.com.
One thing I was thinking about is that you haven't mentioned, weren't you going to school recently?
Yeah. I'm at Appalachian State.
Okay,
doing an MBA.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, the company really encouraged me. I've always wanted it. Early in my career, I talked about it, but the company didn't need that, right? Especially and that wasn't the right time.
Sure.
An MBA for me is much more beneficial now that, I'm a shareholder at Bennett Pless, and just being able to have those intelligent conversations about strategy and finances and investments and all those things is just really good. One of the professors there said, and this could be wrong, I haven't fact checked this, that the original MBA was created at Harvard, I believe, and it was geared towards scientists and engineers because we were in general not very good at business, and so that program was created to help us, understand the business side of what we do. Understand our value, that kind of thing. So, no, it's been great. I love it. I just do one class at a time, but I love that because I can fully get into it, invest all my time in it. I don't have to worry about other classes. I just, like right now, I'm in strategic leadership. I took finance last semester and loved it. They were like, "Oh, finance, that's going to be the hardest class," but I'm an engineer. It was all calculations. It was like, it was the easiest for me, So, but awesome. I'm enjoying it. I got a 4.0, and I wasn't the best of students undergrad. I guess it wasn't like, I was into other things. But now I'm like really trying to excel and just be a sponge and soak it all in and just really into it. So I'm having a good time with it. I think I have 4 classes left. I'm going to be kind of sad when it's done. I'm ready for it to be done, but I know I'm going to be a little sad when it's done.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. And it's a great idea because when you're in the professional setting and you have experience, I'm sure that knowledge, you know exactly what to focus on.
Right.
You go to do what you need to do. You're not wasting time versus, when we're younger, we don't understand the full picture. So
that's right.
Might be a lot of time wasted or I'm not going to focus on this. Now, I think you have the perspective to identify how valuable it is.
Right.
And focusing on the tools that you need in the professional setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Just getting a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Really enjoying it.
What do you say is probably one of the biggest things you have learned through that program so far?
It really just tackling problems in a strategic way, in a formatted way, instead of just gut, like, hey, there's proven strategies on 100%. How to tackle issues.
Yes.
And here's the tools, and here's proven strategies that work in tackling these issues. And I think that's the biggest thing. There's just this huge tool chest, to business owners of different things that you can use to create a successful business. But, just marketing and branding and just a holistic approach of what you're doing. And, you do a great job of that, Jack, just the image, the branding. And that's part of what you do outside of architecture, and just making sure that's from the top down in your business.
Yes.
What are we selling? What are we trying to achieve? And making sure from the top down of your business that's conducive to everything that you're doing. So,
yeah, absolutely. I also love strategy because everything is a strategy. Every single thing, everything is strategy.
Yeah.
One of the things that I call those things mental models, where there is a way to do it. They're proven ways. You can use templates to go through problems. And to me, the most important thing is when you get a problem is problem definition.
Yeah.
What is the problem? Because most of the time, what is presented as the problem is not the problem.
Yeah.
It could be the byproduct of the problem. So what are we solving for here?
Yeah. I think Albert Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem.
Yes.
Something of that nature.
Yes.
you can jump into solutions way too early. And I think defining the problem first.
I think that's the hardest one for all of us, and is we always approach problems in group settings with a preconceived notion of okay, I know what the problem is, I know what the answer is, and we're desperate to give our answer.
Right.
Desperate. And sometimes you could be right, but maybe not, because you might be missing something. And it's really hard to just wait and like, okay, let the process work by itself.
Same thing with active listening, it's really hard to, stay engaged in this conversation even and not think about the next thing to say, right?
Yes.
And, I've forgotten a couple of things I wanted to say during this conversation because I turned that part of my brain on and let's listen,
Yes.
and see what.
100%. And those are the best conversation. I studied maybe 2 years ago, active listening specifically. And the main thing about active listening was make sure you make the other person feel understood.
Right.
Right. So I want to repeat what you're saying.
Right.
And I want to give examples. I will provide my point at some point.
Yeah.
But we're always desperate to prove like, hey, let me do it. Let me show you the way. Let me fix it.
Right.
And the more you understand that the process has a rhythm, and if you don't force it, it's beautiful. When there are amazing solutions that always showed up. The one I love the most is when there is a problem that it shouldn't have not been a problem.
Yeah.
And that takes also a skill. Mm-hmm. And like you get an email and like, I could reply, but let me sit it for 1 day and it disappears, or 3 days,
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes that's another skill people have, which is creating problems where there is no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said earlier, I try to be very responsive. Mm-hmm. But the times that I have not been as responsive as I've wanted to, I've been surprised that sometimes those problems do go away.
Yeah, they do. They do.
You give time for people to solve their own problems.
Yes.
And,
yeah. What are other, would you say, leadership characteristic you have that you feel proud of that has helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Mentoring has been a huge thing. And I've been on the receiving end of that too. I encourage young people and older people to always have a mentor.
Yeah.
I have a leadership mentor and created a leadership resume with him.
Yes.
And just having mentors. Mike Schrum with Terracon was my mentor through Crew.
Yeah.
I was just, and that was a vital time in my life because I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. Do I want to open up my own firm? Do I want to join Bennett Pless? Do I want to stay where I was at? And just having somebody to bounce those ideas off of was critical. So I love mentoring and trying to help young people understand, what they bring to the table and how that might be useful in a career setting and projection and just encouraging them to really work on those skills. Just passionate about people. I think you're similar. And just understanding what their wants and needs are and just doing my best to facilitate really.
Yeah, you're also very good at communication.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're a really good communicator.
Yeah.
Whatever needs to be said at the right time, at the right moment, in a very nice way. No, you don't need less. You don't need more.
Right.
And that's a huge skill.
Thank you.
Professional skill.
I appreciate that.
To communicate effectively.
Yeah.
That's very, very important. What would you say to, a younger, maybe engineer or, professional that is kind of getting in the world and they're looking for what should I do? What skills should I focus on? What advice will you provide a young professional?
Yeah, I mean, any young person really is try a lot of things, right? Try, if you're a civil engineer and you graduate civil engineer and you've chosen structural, that's great, Make sure you're passionate about it, and if not, go try a few things. And then maybe you find out you are passionate about it. We spend a lot of time doing what we call OAD, which is organizational analysis and design. And it's your professional work traits.
Yes.
Who you are as a person and trying to fit that with a team, because we don't want all the same people on one team.
Yes.
So different personality traits together. And I love trying to make people understand who you are, what skills you have, what you can do, and then excel and grow those. And, when I build teams, I try to use the analogy like a basketball team. I'm not trying to spend a lot of time teaching my center how to dribble.
Right.
I want him blocking the paint and rebounding.
Yes.
I'm going to teach my point guard how to dribble, right?
Yeah.
Or let them spend time on dribbling. So I try to use that analogy with my teams too. Like, what are your strong suits? What are you passionate about? Try to make people better at what they're good at. Not necessarily, we need to bolster some weaknesses, but let's spend more time on strengthening your strengths.
Yes.
And then build a team around you so that the team as a whole is as strong as it possibly can be.
Yeah.
That's my strategy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's awesome. There's so many opportunities today for people to go many different directions, and I think that sometimes with technology and all this information, people forget about the basics.
Right.
They want to be too fancy with these things where just do what you said you were gonna do, tell the truth, communicate, apologize if you make a mistake, just basic things that they really say a lot about a person.
Right.
Versus, other more complicated things that might be good, but you don't really using them.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Rob, tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah, so my wife, Jill, she's a recovery teacher at Union Prep where my boys go to school. I have 2 boys, Caden and Cooper. They're 10 and 12 years old.
Yeah.
We all just went on a cruise last week to the Bahamas.
Nice. How was that?
That was fun. It's a lot of fun. And we hung out in South Georgia in Jesup.
Cool.
My dad built like a Field of Dreams pickleball court in the backyard.
Nice.
So my dad's 110% in anything he gets into. So now he's into pickleball. So we played pickleball. My sister's family was there. And then we went to Easter Sunday with my parents in my old church that I grew up in. So that was cool. And they're doing good. One's into karate, one's more into soccer. Mm-hmm. I drag them out to the golf course every now and then,
nice.
But it's hard to keep them focused on that. And I'm not going to shove that down their throat. When they're ready, they're ready. I'm not one of those parents that's going to force something on them. So just trying to encourage them.
I have the same mindset, but when I see my daughter sometimes playing Roblox, have you seen the game? Mm-hmm. It's 3-dimensional. I'm like, you're an architect. I can see you right here. Like, have you thought about architecture?
Yeah, and I talked to my son. I'm like, you're a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Because he out-argues me,
Oh, yeah.
He's 12 years old, and I'm like, all of the points you're making are very valid, and now I feel like I need to leave the room so that I don't explode.
I know. They're so argumentative. You're like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So I'm like, you need to be a lawyer,
Yeah.
But, they're great. Just trying to encourage them when I can and build them up. I say that, they try to kill each other every day. They're brothers, but I say we build each other up. We don't beat each other down. And I feel like I say it every day, and maybe one day it's going to click. And
100%.
I had an older sister. She was 4 years older, so it's a little different. They're 2.5 years apart, and I want them to be friends, but I just don't think that's going to happen until they're a little older in life. Like right now they're a little bit more combative, but sometimes they're friends, but there's just a lot of arguing and stuff. Just trying to get through it as best I can.
Yeah, no, exactly how that is. And kids, you can say with words as much as you want, but it's the example that you're setting for them
absolutely.
that it really influenced them. And you're setting a great example for them.
All right,
there is no way around that. And I always say that our kids are, it's 50% what you do, all the effort, and 50% of who they are.
Right.
They're their own human, and they can ignore everything you say and just go a different way. Or they cannot. Like, you don't have choice. But I always feel that as parents, at least for me, I feel that my responsibility is to do my 50%, 100%.
Right.
Do it very well, because say, all right, I did my job. I set you up.
And then
success.
You don't have those regrets later on, like feeling like it was your fault.
Yes.
You set them up for success, and then it's kind of a little bit on them at the end of the day.
Yeah. My oldest is 16. He's a sophomore. And so I'm part of a local group called Entrepreneurial Organization, where it's just a group of business owners. We meet every month. We talk about business, help each other. And in December, they had an event. They call it like an entrepreneurial journey, and it was focused on students. So I brought my son, and it was, it was a nice event. There was a panel of like 5 people, business owners. They tell their story, bunch of students, students networking, and at the end of the event, they gave every student a spreadsheet with most of the EO members that have businesses that are willing to hire interns.
Right.
So like, oh, this is the company. Anyway, so that happened in December. I forgot about that. And about a month ago, my son said, can I skip school tomorrow? I'm like, why? I have a job interview. I'm like, what? Yeah. So remember that event? I emailed, because it was only email. I emailed a bunch of people, and somebody said that they want to interview me. I said, yeah, sure.
Oh, that's great.
So he goes to the interview, and then I go back home, and I go there in the afternoon. I'm like, so how was it? And he's like, good. I got the job. I'm like, what? Yeah, I got the job. He got a job in a commercial real estate firm.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's an internship for the summer.
Yeah.
And already I know, who hired them, because I talked to them and then I met with them, and they were very impressed because they were hiring college students.
Right.
And he's just a 10th grader.
Right.
And he's just like, yeah, I'm going to try. And so he's going to do the internship this summer. But with just that fact happening, I feel like my job is, I did it.
That's a lot of
initiative.
initiative.
Did it because I just brought him to event. I didn't ask him to do that. Like, that's on his own. He did his part, but I feel that I took it 50% here, and they're like, if you can ignore that meeting, ignore it. But he didn't. He took initiative, and now there are things that are happening, and that made me feel very proud.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. So, there are a lot of things that we do sometimes that we don't realize the impact we have in others, and even with employees. Sometimes when you're interacting at the office, we're still all humans, and we're impacting each other. And I think focusing on being a great parent, by default, you become a great leader and a great boss, because you're just interacting with others that they're looking up to you for, what to do next or reference. And it's just a default setting that I feel is very empowering and exciting to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I try to walk around the office quite a bit, and a lot of those conversations are business, but a lot of them are not.
Right?
Just having conversations about past life experiences, where you've traveled, or whatever you're getting into, and those conversations are critical.
100%.
Just for the camaraderie of the office, and allowing those people to grow, what we say, professionally and also personally, right?
Yeah.
And I agree. It's critical to what we're trying to do.
Yeah, in the workplace, there is always this conversation about work-life balance.
Oh yeah.
And my perspective is that there is no work-life balance. It's just life.
Yeah.
You just life here, or you're here, you're changing setting, but you're still the same human.
Right.
With the same emotions, fears, anxiety, dreams. You're still the same one.
Right.
There is no separation. We're not machines that they go to work and be a machine. You're always that same human experience in life with others, and just doing what you want to do to, add to society with your skills.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, having a fun work environment makes it fun to come to work, and not a drag to come to work.
Right.
And we spend a lot of time on that. We actually have a group called the Function Bunch at Bennett Pless, who plans events and guess, like, we had the mac and cheese cook-off this week. Yeah. Which I came in 5th out of 6 places, so I'm still a little hurt about that. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot more enjoyable when you enjoy your coworkers versus not.
100%. Since in the probably first 5 years of my career, I work on different building types, but never on office spaces.
Right.
Then when I started working on office work, which I've been doing for many years, I realized how important that is, because if you look at, if you're a traditional adult in the world, you go to work in your 20s until, let's say, 20 to 60.
Right.
And you work 40 years in an office, 40 hours a week.
Right.
So you probably spend more time in an office than in your home.
Right.
So the office design is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're there.
Yeah.
So it should be functional. It should be beautiful. It should allow you to do what you need to you do best. So it's a very important thing because that's where we spend a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm eager for you to come to our open house
Sure.
a couple
Yeah.
of weeks from
No,
now.
I'm
to
excited.
see our office.
I'll
So
be there.
we went a little more traditional than the open office environment just because we were coming from that house, and people had a lot of privacy, and it's always this give and take of open atmosphere to having a little bit of privacy, So I feel like we made this happy medium, but I'll be interested to get your feedback when you see it.
Yeah, I have that conversation with every single client
absolutely.
because it's the perception of privacy. Is it real privacy?
Yeah.
Is it visual? Is it auditive? Like there are many different things that those are the kind of problems that I would like to ask. Okay, tell me more about that.
You're right.
What do
what's
you
your
want?
culture?
Yeah,
What
right.
are you trying to achieve? And what are you selling and how much, communication do you need to have in office versus out office? Those are critical to understand and provide your client with what they need, not necessarily what you want them to have.
100%.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Nice. All right, Rob. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm very excited to have you, and I'm always proud of what you do. I always talk about you all the time, like I said at the beginning. And my last question for you that I somehow came up with this question somehow is, do you have a question for me?
Wow. Yeah. You have entrepreneurial spirit, and that's huge for me. I'm proud of you also, and thank you for having me. But, what made you decide that I no longer wanted to work for someone, but I wanted to do my own thing and start my own thing, and maybe talk a little bit about the why on that, and then maybe some of the struggles and how you got started.
Yeah, 100%. That's easy. It's as 50%, and I tell you how. Since I graduated from architecture school in 2002, and I started working. I joined the workforce, and I always had the idea of having my own firm. Like it was always there,
Right?
Always there. It was like this seed that was in me. I was like, man, one day I'm gonna have my own firm. One day, but I joined the workforce, and you learn, you get nicer things, and you're like, oh, you enjoy it, you get promotions, you're doing a good job, and I'm like, cool, and that dreams like starts to diminish, and he's there, and he's there, and he's there, and I think it was probably when I hit 30 when I feel that. Like I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And I'm an immigrant, first generation. I'm in United States. Everything I dream of, I'm working at this amazing place. I'm like, dude, I made it. This is incredible. Like that's it. But somehow, I remember coming to work and I'm like, I don't know what it is. What is this? And I the way I thought about it was I feel underutilized. I said I could do more. But, you need to fit it, certain project architect, you're technical, you're designer, get all these boxes. And I feel like to a point where I love my job. I always love it. And there was a point where I was not enjoying it that much. And I started to feel like, what's happening? This is what I wanted and I have it. Am I ungrateful or what's going on? And as an immigrant, that's what I wanted. So after thinking a lot, I kind of visualized that I have been pregnant with this dream.
Yeah.
And this baby was 11 months old.
Yeah.
And it was about to explode.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw the baby. I was like, okay. But me personally, I'm a conservative person. I'm organized. I'm not a risk taker. Like for me, that's not my nature.
Right.
I'm like, just keep going gradually. You're doing a good job. Yeah. Safe decisions, one after the other one. And that took me to, where I was before. But I had this pregnancy, but I don't want to do it. So I start doubting myself. Okay, is this a crazy idea? Or I cannot do this? Or yes, I should do it. What's going on? So when I was very doubtful, what I do will go to the people that are close to me and I love, my parents, my brothers, but my friends. But the most important thing was my wife, because I had all these ideas, so I started talking to people, talk to my wife, blah, blah. And every person that I talked to, they said, dude, you have to do it. You have to do it. You can do it. You can do it. So I got a lot of external validation because I was very self-conscious. and doubtful, which I'm still are. That's part of my nature.
Yeah.
But when you get all that external validation that, okay, that feels better, but still I'm like looking for the excuse why not to do it.
Yeah.
I always thought, no, I have 1 kid. No, I have 2 kids. No, I have 3 kids. This is a big risk. Like always come up with excuses.
Oh, yeah.
So we went to a vacation to Colombia to visit my family. And it was in December 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And, some of my friends have their own firms, and I talked to my parents and my friends, and everybody's like, man, you should do it. This is amazing. I'm like, okay. I came back from that trip like, okay, I'm going to do this, but still looking for excuses. Yeah. So when we came back from the trip, it was like 2 weeks. So I'm coming back, and let's say I'm going back January 3rd. So I talked to my wife, and so she said, so are you ready to resign? I said, sure, yeah, I'm going to do it. And she said, when? And so I start thinking about, oh my God, I'm managing all these projects. I don't want to leave a bad reputation. I said, in about a month. Mm-hmm. And she said, if you don't quit tomorrow, don't come back to this house.
Oof.
And she was joking, but no joking.
Yeah.
And when she said that, I know it was nothing was gonna happen if I didn't do it.
Yeah.
But when I came back, when I was 9 a.m. at the office next day, I felt I cannot go back to my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my family. I'm the leader of this home to say I was scared to have that conversation, which I was. So I said, all right. 9:15, I called the principal saying, hey, can we talk? And say, hey, I'm leaving. I'm gonna start my own firm.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish everything. I ended up staying a month because, of course, I had a lot of things. I'll be here a month and I'm going to do it. And they told me, if anyone can do this, it's you.
Oh, that's great.
That's exciting. How can we help you? Let's turn over all your projects. And that's how I did it. So it was not just me with willpower.
Right.
I was very lucky to have a wife that believes in myself more than I do.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. It's a good story.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
Sure, man.
It's been great.
Anytime.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ron.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this content. And find us online at thepowerofdesignpodcast.com. I invite you to join my mission to become a better version of yourself through the power of design.